You're listening to The Bon Ray Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to The Bon Ray Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. And you can contact anything that you've heard or if anything you'd like to discuss at news@irishnews.net.
Today again we have the wonderful Eileen on, who's going to be explaining to us about what's going on with the EU and the UN. I believe you're having sleepless nights. It's become so bad.
Well, I couldn't kind of rest last night. My mind was racing. There's a lot going on, and I feel like it's closing in on us quickly. And every day it's treason. I see it because I can see it now, clearly. And started last week really with Higgins, his speech, his so-called speech, President Higgins warns of the return of an ugly xenophobic corruption of nationalism.
Yeah, I saw some articles on that. Absolutely bloody disgrace.
I used to like him. I used to think he was probably somebody different than he actually is. This is it. They're all playing roles, and none of them are who they seem to be. And he's patronizing us literally about becoming xenophobic. It's like we're being bullied and warned and mentally groomed, that you don't dare step out of line, because if you are, you're racist. It's really pathetic. Standing there 100 years and they were all there clapping, and we have nobody really to represent us now.
They are all hilarious. Everything they died for, they're being told that they died for other reasons, which is totally insane. Like, I don't even know why. It's like independence didn't happen, like the war was for some other reason. It's like they've reinvented the whole history.
They're rewriting the whole thing. They're rewriting the whole thing, and going on that poverty subsists amidst plenty. There are people here. I heard this morning there was a man going around living on a bus, and he was going around for 18 hours a day living on a bus, and they're going on. And today there's another arrival in Kenmare. Well, it was 2 days ago, actually, on the 24th of January, 24th. The residents of Kenmare, down in County Kerry, woke up to a surprise, and they had gangs of Africans and Muslims walking around the town, and they weren't told about it. And there was a complete media blackout. They're doing things. Do you know that they're entertaining us now with what Alec Baldwin did? Like, there was some nonsense on the news the other night about Alec Baldwin getting into a fight with somebody. That's the kind of mental grooming that's going on. Who gives a damn about Alec Baldwin? Give us the real news.
Yeah, they haven't been telling us the real news. In fact, they're actually lying.
They're running out of hotels. So now they know that there's going to be a clash at some point, and there's apparently another one coming up in Bray, the Royal Hotel. We'll see if that comes out along there, and there's a boardwalk along there. There's a lot a few hotels along there. So there's rumors now that that's going to be targeted next. And there's millions and millions
destroy Bray
being made.
Absolutely destroy Bray.
It will destroy Bray. You won't be able to walk around at night or in the summer in a summer's dress.
Bray was a fabulous town. It was just such a great time. It really is. It's just they will just destroy it, destroy our tourism, destroy everything.
Yeah, they're desperately looking now. B&Bs even they want. A while ago it was 5,000 asylum seekers. I remember it wasn't so long ago, and now it's up to 6,300-ish, about that. And this is before the UN kicks in. And then when they remove all borders, we won't have any say whatsoever. And the courts are the same. During the week there was he's Master of the High Court, Edmund Hoonihan, and he was taking care of a lot of people who were in debt, and there's loads of them around the country. And so he was a bit of a pain in the neck to the establishment, because he insisted on the paperwork being totally absolutely perfect. and he kept seeing a surprising number of errors. And he was becoming a thorn in their side. So they have removed him now.
Jesus.
And they haven't given him any reason why. And he was completely shocked because he had loads of debt cases, but he was helping them restructure things, and they didn't like it. They just want to kick people out and recuperate. Literally, the government work for the vulture funds, and that's what people need to know. And they need to get prepared because we don't have a government as such. Labour now is announcing that they want to just literally bring back the citizenship, birthright citizenship, just overturn
Saw that.
the
Yeah, it was
2007
voted 2-1 or something. So they've, yeah,
It's Aidan Reardon and Ivana Basic, the two subversives who are literally on the list of Soros subversives. So, they're well connected. They're not just working. They're not working for Ireland. It's really bad. Yeah, last night I had a bit of a. I was thinking, yeah, for a few hours. I couldn't. My mind was kind of swimming, going round and round of all this.
I just don't. The Irish are so asleep. Like I was even
Last
talking about,
night,
arguing about
well,
the border.
last
They're
night I
so
could see
worried
it.
about the border.
Oh, they're really. Now, last night I wasn't actually looking at the late. It was on the background, the Late Late Show. And I can see now, and other people are seeing it because I see it on Twitter, that they're grooming the public.
Yeah.
They're
Well, they
grooming the
want
public.
they want the Irish to attack
No,
the border. They're literally kind of going anti. They're very anti the British kind of. Look at this. The Brexit's caused this, and it's the EU who's going to do the border. But the Irish government is stirring up kind of a
they are
frenzy with
pawns.
this
We don't have a government.
border.
We do not
No,
have a government. No, we do not
have an
have any
anti-Irish.
government whatsoever. We are controlled by the elite, like a lot of Western countries, and their secret societies on top of that to add to add problems on top of problems. Would they know exactly what's going to happen up in Northern Ireland? They have it all planned
Well,
out.
they're planning it. They're absolutely planning it out. They're like building up, like, I mean, complete into a frenzy with this border issue. It's on 24/7, but they're
Yeah, they're
talking
just
about this
that they
border
want.
and how dangerous and how, you're going to need visas. People are getting letters through the post warning them you're going to have a green card to get.
Yes, all order out of chaos. That's the motto.
Building up a frenzy of people. They know that they want the Irish to attack, which is quite scary. They want it all over again. And that voluntary, I wouldn't be surprised if it had something to do with the government. They really are trying to build the Irish into a frenzy
No, they
of
actually they want Ireland, but they don't want the Irish in it.
no. And you can really see that
That's
becoming quite obvious.
it's
Um,
if it's not obvious at this stage, the problem is that it's a bit late in the day, and they know that. I mean, here we are talking about this. Soon we won't be allowed to talk about anything. They'll be calling it hate
allowed
speech.
to talk about it.
Well, they'll be
And I
blocking. They'll
think
be.
we're pretty
I
much
mean, they.
there already. We're not allowed to talk about it.
Well, I mean,
Um,
last week, Edmund, what's his name there? Noel Edmonds, he was on the Late Late Show and he talked about the banks. And you've edited that section out of the RTE player. Can you believe that?
Jesus.
It's not like a big
The
deal. People
Irish
know. He was on
state.
the Late Late Show and last week, and he said, he knows that the Irish people have had a hard time with the banks, and he was driven to distraction with them as well.
Yeah.
And he got a big clap, and everybody like showed their appreciation. And that was edited. Can you imagine? That's how thick they think we are. They think we are completely and utterly thick. That they edited that out of the RTE player. And he has heard about it since, and he can't believe it either.
It is actually quite shocking. I think we're in a worse state than Britain. And even the British, I
Exactly.
think, would get worried for us. And I think that's why the Irish government is stirring up such a frenzy anti-British kind of thing with this border. They do.
It's all a mirage.
And people are believing it. People are kind of going, oh my God, we're going to have a green card to go to Northern Ireland. Like, they're into a frenzy of worry. I'm like, so what? Like, think about this. It's like a piece of paper. You can all read and write at the very worst, which is the UN. It's nothing to do with the British bringing this in. The British don't want to bring this in. This is the UN who are doing this, or the EU, sorry, and with the Irish government. It's nothing.
Well,
Freedom of movement has been in Ireland since 1922. In
they,
1949, Ireland declared a republic.
yeah, but now we have the UN migration.
For the EEC, we were allowed to live there, vote there, claim benefits there. It's because we're not treated as a foreign country. So all this frenzy is bullshit. It's just to
Well, they
terrify the
refused to
Irish.
recognise us as a different. They couldn't give a damn. Anyway, they couldn't give a damn.
No, but I'm just saying it's more for the Irish
They
government that they.
enjoy destroying, and they enjoy destroying us. I'm telling you, they're getting pleasure from it. It is going on for hundreds of years, and it has not stopped. We're not free,
Oh no, we're not.
and now we
Well,
have to
we're
fight
not
again.
actually looking into our independence. The English um, have never given up their claim to Ireland, and the Queen only had to come into Ireland once in 99 years to hold on to that claim, which she did a few years ago.
But
Which
they're also not free. The British are also not free. They're also controlled by the elite.
yeah.
We have to get over this mirage that we have in our head that people in the West or anywhere in the world really, but especially in the West at the moment, all of those governments in the EU are completely controlled by an elite. Merkel doesn't work for the Germans, that none of them. Macron definitely doesn't work for the French. And May, I mean, if May can sign the UN Migration Pact and then go on about legislation has to be changed to allow paedophiles to adopt children, at what point do you wake up? Last night on the Late Late Show, it's now turning into a propaganda machine where they're grooming the public like little sheep. They patronize us and treat us as ticks. They had this thing about a vegan diet on. They're putting these subliminal messages into people's minds. Brainwashing. So they had vegan diets. They had a thing about the North, but it was all more the pro-Protestant. They weren't just discussing all the Catholics that were murdered. And they had cultural Marxism. So
Up in
I'm
Northern
convinced
Ireland,
now
was it?
promoting cultural Marxism, as in Ryan came out with this thing to Darren Kennedy. Oh, maybe next year, or maybe I don't know, maybe in the future, we'll see two men dancing in same sex as such, same sex dancers.
But
Can you imagine two men dancing the tango, basically? And Darren went to the audience. Oh yeah, maybe as if it was a great idea. And then it just at what point are people going to stop clapping and wake up? They were clapping like crazy. I don't know if there's somebody down there jeering them on or like forcing them into it. But it's nonsense. You can't have two men doing the tango and doing ballroom. It doesn't. I mean, and personally, I would switch it off because it wouldn't matter if it was two women. It just doesn't. They're just not made to dance in those ways. They couldn't probably do it anyway. They wouldn't be flexible enough.
you remember that story as a child, the Empress with no clothing? Do you remember that story?
I've heard of it. Remind me. I can't remember it all.
So it was basically about this vain emperor, and he wanted the best dressmaker in the world, so they hired this best dressmaker. And before then, he was killing off dressmakers because they weren't the best. They wanted the very best, so they got this man who was the best. And so he basically, the story is he tricks the emperor into thinking he has the most amazing, beautiful suit. And anybody who can't see this, and he tricks the whole empire, that everybody that if they cannot see this amazing clothing, then they're stupid, ignorant, poor people, that they just can't appreciate this most amazing, beautiful outfit, and that everybody was so afraid of speaking out against this outfit. Now the emperor walks out without any clothing, and all everybody's like, wow, my God, that's such an amazing outfit. It's just the best outfit we've ever seen, except for one little boy, and he puts up his hand and he laughs. The emperor has no clothing, and everybody starts laughing. Once the little boy was able to break the silence,
the
the
sheep.
truth, and everybody could admit it. But up to then, they were all like, "Oh my God!" They were afraid, even though they could see, but they didn't question themselves because they didn't want to be stupid, ignorant,
They're
poor
so
people.
terrified, and they should just speak the truth. That's all they need, to stick to the truth, no matter what.
One boy that can reach them like that
Yeah,
with
but
the emperor without clothing,
yeah,
and
the
then I think it'll all fall apart. If, please God, that happens, like the emperor story, and this whole thing, the madness of it.
yeah, but I think it's like in every country now. You have in France, you have half or even one third fighting for France and the other three thirds. And then you have the same in America, it's divided. Like here, if I talk to people, some of them say, oh, he's great, Michael D. Higgins and everything. He was patronizing us about 1919, actually. It was about 100 years of Dáil Éireann. And it was all about xenophobia. And how dare we, like, even question their motives?
That's the reason why we became independent, not for xenophobic, for the Irish to be Irish in their own land.
They're
It's
trying to
crazy that,
blind
well,
us.
it makes sense that he would push that agenda.
Yeah, but it just shows you that we have nobody working for Ireland. We've nobody working for us. Nobody gives a damn about us. We only have ourselves. And half of them are, over half of them are asleep. And literally, I feel we're coming now to a banking crash. And they're going to create
Yeah,
order out of chaos. And the worry is then that, yeah, they have a lot of power, you know. People are going to have to wake up literally quickly and be defiant. They're trying to blind us to the ethnic cleansing of Ireland, and among many, many other things. I mean, they're stripping the constitution to shreds until it
absolutely.
becomes.
Watered down. It doesn't actually exist. It has no power, which I think they've pretty much achieved. But the interesting thing, I was reading an article about nightclubs in Ireland and bars where they're saying, that they can't afford to survive now. That they're closing down left, right, and centre. I don't know whether you saw one of the most famous ones in Dublin, Lily's Bordello, closed down, and there's been a string of other ones that are closing down. And they're saying the taxes are killing us in Dublin. It's
Yeah,
like
well,
they want.
they don't want people to have businesses. We're heading towards global socialism. They don't want people to be able to afford mortgages. We've the highest interest rate in the whole of the EU for for mortgages, 4%, I think it is. I think it's 2% in France, and even then they pay such high taxes for other things
They're
that
really just trying to
they're no better off in the long run. You know, you still have the well off and the rest of them. And we won't even get into the States. They're living from paycheck to paycheck. This has all been by design, bit by bit through the decades. The banking crash and everyone will be on food stamps, which is, I mean, what has happened to those people in California that were burned out of their homes? We haven't heard a damn thing. People are being dumped in Kenmare. Kenmare's one of the nicest tourist towns, and they don't come to Kenmare and down to Francis Brennan to see Afghanis and Indians and Pakistanis and Nigerians walking around the town with nothing to do at a loose end.
No, they don't want people coming here. They want to
I mean,
crash
they
the
come to see
tourists.
Ireland. They
Of course they do.
couldn't give an absolute. We are being planted, and the arrogance of that Ivana Basic and Aidan O'Riordan to try and overrule the wishes of the Irish people who voted no to the birthright citizenship. They couldn't give a
Absolutely.
damn.
No, they don't care what the Irish think. Yeah, but they've made that very clear. And they're going to destroy the tourist industry. That seems to be the thing they're going after by flooding us with all these immigrants. They know, as you said, people don't want to come over and see Pakistani in Ireland. You don't go anywhere. Nobody comes to Ireland to see that shit. And they know that. And then they know that people will stop it, particularly the Americans will stop coming. They don't want to see that crap. So they want that. They're taking away their hotels. So they're taking away that.
They're closing their
Post
post
offices,
offices, yeah, and their
all
Garda
the
stations. But
nightclubs
they
in
have
town, right
plenty of
places.
money to dump them in migrant hotels. Plenty of money there, no problem.
And while there's something like 1 in every 4 doesn't even speak English in schools. So the teacher mollycoddles the immigrants that don't speak any
Genocide.
English, where the Irish are left to a side being homeless, where these immigrants are given Irish homes and are being mollycoddled because they don't speak any English, and the Irish are being either starved when they're coming into school or coming 27% from homeless situations. The only sort of heat or decency they get or safety is in schools where the immigrants, no birthright to Ireland, nothing right, are given homes, given Irish homes, given food, given everything that indigenous child should be given, and giving their education, while the Irish child is being ignored because they already speak English. So these non-Irish are holding up the whole class for basic sentences. And the Irish child can't even concentrate in school because a lot of the time they're hungry. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
disgusting what they're doing to the Irish people.
Grooming them on the Ray Darcy show. They're grooming them on the Late Late Show. They're cutting and editing and anything that's controversial, anything they say about the banks, oh my God, they snip that out. Can you believe they treat us like little children? Like they really are patronizing little, like we're living in a stat where it's getting to the point now. They think we didn't see it live. We saw it, what he said, and they're removing it, because they don't want people to rise up against the banks, and they will rise up against the banks. And there was a vote. There was farmers down in I remember there was one in Monaghan, I think, and he offered 370,000 out of it. There was a loan he owed 430,000, and he offered the bank 370,000, and they wouldn't take it because they know they're programming a crash. They know they're going to get that farm for nothing, and they're going to pull the plug, and then they're going to go back to him up in Monaghan and say, now they force him to sell.
I know
They want to herd people into towns. We have to wake up. The problem is
I don't
getting
think the
the rest of the
Irish
country
can
to
wake
believe
up.
it.
I don't know what's wrong with them. I really don't. This generation are incapable of waking up.
Well, they have these agents all over the bloody country. They have them in the universities. They're trying to brainwash them in school. I had, a little 8-year-old say to me something the other day about, oh, well, other people have like different gods. She thought there was several gods really because that's what they're being taught. Do you know what I mean? She was all confused because they all have different gods. I mean, it's just, I never thought I was going to come back to Ireland, and this unfolding nightmare is just, and the thing is, people are walking around getting their nails done. I mean, I see people down in Wicklow Street, and the nail bars are completely packed, and they haven't the slightest clue. I mean, some of them may have. I haven't spoken to them, but some of them are definitely going around in a dream.
Absolutely, but that's the way the government wants them. But they are like a lot of them are just either they don't care or they just can't. They can't cope with the information anyway. They're just not able to understand what's going on.
Well, they might understand it when there's going to be riots when the bank try to take everything off. And there's 98 million euros worth of mortgages in the Vulture Hands fund. They have it in their hands. 98 million euros worth.
Yeah, no, I can well believe
Like their
that.
mortgages are teetering on the brink, and that's the value of the mortgages that one of the Vulture funds, or several of them have. And that's a lot of money.
Did you hear what Leo said about the vulture funds? He was standing up for them.
Ah, he's an awful. Well, they have, is it 40,000 nurses that are going to go on strike next week?
Yeah, you couldn't care less about
There's,
them either.
but they have millions to pour into the NGO scam.
The president Assad has asked that his people go back to the country. That he said that there is no terrorism there. There is no need for them to be in European countries.
Well, whatever about Syria, because I have a feeling that's not over yet. But whatever about them, there's no reason for people coming from Georgia and Albania and being allowed to claim asylum.
But Assad has asked them to come back. Remember, this is the second time
Yeah,
he's
we have.
pleading for them to come back. He said we need to build up the country again. It's done in a bad way. So the country needs to be built up.
Well, I mean, you have to compare the salaries. All you have to do is get the salary scales out.
They get the dough. They're all being paid money that should be going to the native Irish and the native British and the native French. It shouldn't be all going to them. It's going all to the so-called refugees.
Well, they're not. The majority are not refugees. They're migrants, and they come from countries, low-wage countries where there's no wars. The majority of them.
And they're not going to go back. They'll never get that sort of money on the Irish now.
And now they want to get them into politics. This is how do they getting so restless, Soros, the Immigration Council and all that. They're getting so restless working out how to get them into politics, how to rig the system to get all councillors now will be, well, there's a few anyway. They're going to try and get them in. There's one from Malawi that the Social Democrats are putting forward. And she she's here for years on the system. Failed many times her asylum claim and cost the taxpayer a pile of cash. And I don't think she's a citizen either. And I know they want to put her in to get her elected in May. Apparently the Yellow Vests in France have 10 people putting themselves forward for the elections in May, European elections.
Oh, well, 10 people, that's good. That's European elections.
So now they're going to take voters from Marine Le Pen, so it's going to be a battle, this thing in May. And I think they're going to do something before then.
Not even clued in or saying there's something going to happen.
Well, at least their instincts are kicking in. If they're at least, maybe they should get off those soaps and think about it and start doing some research and get onto YouTube and Political Irish and Gemma Doherty and.
Absolutely. You see, unfortunately, they're so far. They have a feeling there's something going, right? That's their instinct, as you said. But they're so far gone. Unfortunately, they have no idea.
There is, and there's a section of them that I don't even like anymore. Why am I worried? Because some of them don't even like their own country. They're just ready to sell it. They're like arrogant and vicious, like vicious bullies. Paid off by Soros or something. Some of them are paid off. Some of them are trolling. Definitely there's teams of trolls. That's pathetic now to pay bully people online against you're supposedly your own.
They don't feel like anything to do with us. They really don't. They don't want anything to do with us.
They will when the UN takes down all the borders. And all they have to do now is crash the banks and everything's on the brink, Deutsche Bank is about to collapse. Italia, I mean, everything's on the brink. They are lying to you about the economy. It's not booming. It's on the verge of total annihilation. Wake up, please. Why am I worrying anyway? As I said, there's some of them I don't even like anymore. They're just vicious little bitches, some of them.
Absolutely. But they want the destruction of Ireland. They actually hate Ireland. They've been trained for so long to absolutely hate Ireland and hate everything that we stand for. Like, as far as they can only understand, for some reason, certain people missed it for whatever reason. We missed this whole induction to it. I don't know why. I think probably you were out of the country. I don't know why I missed it, where I was probably asleep. No. It seems to be that there is a huge amount of the country who were indoctrinated into hating this country and believes the independence wasn't for independence. I'm not sure what it was for, but the war for independence wasn't for independence, and it was for all people to come to Ireland. It was for open borders. The independence was. They believe some crazy shit.
They want them to be little communists. 100 million people died the last time that happened. Over the last few decades.
I think the independence was something to do with everybody is welcome. And when it said cherish all children, it meant all the children from all over the world, not just the Irish children. They are really convinced. And they've convinced themselves this crap.
Well, there's nobody saying that down in it's only for the Irish and Europe and for America and Canada and Australia. Canada's pretty bad too. They literally want they were the settlers, people who settled Canada, the Europeans as such. They want them gone. They're going to create the North American Union. They are going to merge Canada, America and Mexico. That's the plan. That's the plan of Chuck Schumer and that lunatic. She's, I think, 82 or something. They couldn't give a damn about those migrants, let me tell you. They couldn't give slightest damn about them, but they're using them as a weapon to destroy America. If you really are that badly brainwashed, you need to take a cold shower and get off the soaps and get onto YouTube and look at Gemma O'Doherty and look at a few.
In some way, it's unfortunate because in this echo chamber, and it is unfortunately, we're all in our. The people are awake are in a completely different bubble, and we're like circling in the same circle.
That's why it's
But the
hard.
ones that are not awake are completely. They have no idea of those names you've just thrown out. They wouldn't have a clue about them. They know about what RTE, what's on the national radio
Yeah, exactly.
stations. That's all they know.
They've heard of
And
fake
anyone
news.
else,
They've heard.
they have no other media, way
No.
of media. And everybody they know is
Well,
talking about what's on the Irish radio. They're
well,
not talking about what we're talking about. And they have no way of ever understanding what we're talking about or ever knowing anybody. And if somebody did talk about what we're talking about, they think they're insane.
well, I told you, my own brother thought I was insane. I mean, we had to come to loggerheads. He was the one that was brainwashed. I couldn't get it through to him. He thought I was gone loop the loop. And then I have,
All a minority, which is the problem. He is the majority in this country who have no idea of any of those names you've
well, he would be,
qualified. You might as well be talking about Zimbabwe Zoo and whatever. That's not in their reality. That's not in their life. It's in ours because we've woken up, but we're in a bubble. And they're the ones,
yeah,
and we just kind of, which is unfortunate because we're trying to reach them. But when you try and reach them, because we've so much knowledge of what's happened and so much information, it's overwhelming. They're like, "Oh,
well,
can you not just talk about nails or dresses?" Like even I have a lot of friends. There's no way I can bring up most conversations with them because they haven't got a clue what I'm talking
what
about.
are they
They just look
talking
at
about? What
me
are they
as in,
talking about?
"Are we?" Yeah, that's
What
literally
do
it.
they
Are we
talk
going
about,
out on
though?
Saturday or not? What do they talk about? They will
Yeah.
literally talk about clothes, their nails, their makeup, guys.
Ah, right, listen, there's only
Um,
so much of that. It's fun and everything, but when you see the whole country being coming to pieces, if you haven't woken up, I mean, put your head under the shower and wake up.
they usually regurgitate whatever the government's saying, and it is quite
Well,
scary. Even with the abortion campaign, all of them were literally were convinced that Irish women were dying because there was an abortion in the country. They were convinced. There was
my own
no
brother told me it was
convincing
choice.
them.
He repeated back to me the slogan from Sorrows. I said, you're repeating the friggin' thing back to me. Choice, he said, something about choice. And like this is what I'm saying. And he would be mixing in circles. They would be well educated, they believe they live
Completely
in a free
brainwashed.
country. That's what I was trying to get
Yeah,
through to him.
it's
We don't live in a free country.
independence. They think the EU is Europe and that we're all sticking together and it's fantastic. And now we're allowing in these beautiful refugees and they're fantastic and they're going to add to the
They're not
economy.
refugees. And as
It's
regards
only
this
the rich.
abortion thing, these people have to realise that for the elite, this is about child sacrifice. They couldn't give the slightest damn about women's rights. Not the slightest damn do they give. In fact, they intend to remove women completely.
Not.
Eventually, everything will be gender neutral in the future. And they will have transhumanism.
Absolutely.
Will have
Heading
babies
that way
will
already.
be will be will be made in an incubator. They won't need women. And they will vaccinate them and chip them at the same time. And we'll be like
Yeah.
fucking zombies going around if people don't wake up. And I mean,
Oh, I think we're not far from that because they want perfect human beings, which is why the
they want
abortion
them to be
because
slaves. They don't want people who question things. They want slaves. And they only want a
well,
certain amount of them. The Agenda 21 is still
yeah.
going. They still want to depopulate.
Oh yeah.
When the famine was happening in 1845, there was sometimes I walk around and I realize the dates of the buildings, and I realize, wow, they built that at the time of the famine, So all of that
Yeah.
was going on. All of that, they were building gorgeous buildings and they were having parties, and all of that was going on while people were starving, and that could happen again.
Nice. But sure, there was 3.5 times enough food in this country while the famine was going. It was all being shipped out. It was a planned genocide any more than this one. It was planned. They wanted to get free Ireland of the Irish, is what they're doing again. It's going to be forced migration. They want the Irish out of Ireland. With the famine, when the
Yeah.
farmers had cleared, the landlords had cleared the land of the Irish, they were like, congratulations, you got rid of them all.
This time they will not have anywhere to go because they will, when they crash the whole system to bring in this digital currency, they won't be going to it. There'll be nowhere to go. There will be riots.
And this time it'll be bigger than just Ireland. Yeah, it'll be the whole of Europe.
And by the way, which is very sneaky, another sneaky operation with our fake government, in 2014, there was a vote in the UN about restructuring sovereign debt. And there's a whole list of countries from A to Z, about 200 countries, and Ireland, of course, voted no to restructuring sovereign debt. We are literally, they're going to do it deliberately, and they're going to recoup Ireland. They'll do with us what they want once they have us indebted up to our neck. They'll flood the country. They'll do what they like because
no way of us knowing. We don't have independent audits, so we don't actually know what we are. We only know what they say. So they took 200 billion out of our seats. We have no way, without independent audits, of actually knowing what the figures are.
Oh, the guy they removed from Edmund Hounahan there, who was helping the people, there was quite a lot of cases he had, the debts with the banks, was removed from the High Court, Master of the High Court removed, because he was just
obviously
too good at his job. He was just too damn good at his job. And David McCullough the other night on Primetime, he's really complicit in crap reporting. Crap. That's what it was. Oh, well, you did come into the courtroom and you had a hammer and you broke the window, because he did. And I'd rather he did that than he should have flung the bloody hammer across the bench. But he did break the window. So what?
Yeah.
That's crap reporting. That has nothing to do with the issue. And now those people are going to be left with someone else, of course. That's the way they want it. So they remove people that are too good at their job. They remove people who are helping people in debt. They want them out of their way.
They're even the movies. I don't know whether you've gone to the movies. There was 2 movies I've seen recently, and it was complete brainwashing. There was one movie I watched, and it was about these vigilantes, right, who were like right-wing terrorists, as if there's really right-wing terrorists. But anyway, they built them up, these right-wing terrorists, and the elites had all their kids on this island, and they went and they killed all these kids. And then they had all these, like, this refugee coming, I come from Syria, and she looked like a Western girl, and it was like she wasn't Muslim or African or poor, it was like really, it was complete brainwashing. And there was another one I went with last night with my children, and that was quite an interesting one, because it was one where they're literally where there was always a clear line between good and bad, right and wrong. They're actually muddying that water.
Lines. Yeah, they're blurring all the lines.
The heroes now are becoming what would have been the criminals.
Yes, and
they're blurring all those lines.
Exactly. And they do this in the Tavistock Institute in London. They come up with all this. Has been going on for decades. They're rolling it out now, one thing after the next, because they want to get to do as thou wilt. They don't want they want to get to depravity. That's where they want to go. They want to drag society there by the hair on our heads. I don't go anymore to the cinema. I mean, I gave it up. I kind of gave it up about a year ago, the cinema. I got, because the same people who run the banks run Hollywood and run the cinema, and they are definitely all in it together. So.
But this movie is called Glass. But this movie, I'll just tell you that Glass, it's very interesting, because the first part was set, I think the first part was called Broken, and there was very clear lines of what was good and bad, what was evil, right and wrong. Where now they're really mixing it up. The second part is called Glass, where they lock up the good guy and they try with the bad guys, and they try to prove that the bad guys was just because they had bad backgrounds, and the good guy was just as bad as the bad guy. It was quite interesting. If you get
Yeah.
a chance, have a
Yeah.
look at it. It's quite interesting how they're actually blurring the lines between good and bad, right and wrong.
But you can see that, you see, but someone of 15 can't.
No.
And kids of 12 can't see that, you know, they're being open to grooming, mental grooming.
Absolutely. Now, maybe my children are slightly different because of me, and I kind of constantly go on about these things. My son did say that was wrong, that the good guy should have been locked up with the bad guys. But it was quite a weird way where it would have never been played when I was a child. You know, there's clear lines. Good guys were heroes. Bad guys go to prison. Bad guys lose in the end, and it was very clear lines, good
Yeah,
and
there was
bad.
morals.
Where this
Yeah.
completely mixing up what's good and bad. The bad guys are only bad because they had a bad childhood. So they're not, the good guys aren't really that good. They're as bad as bad guys because they were chasing them and creating problems. It was quite a really, if you get a chance, watch it. And it's really quite
And it's
interesting. It's
brainwashing,
kind of
and you know, it works. It works over
work.
months and years, you know, over a few years. You see it enough, and then people adapt that kind of culture. That's the plan.
Absolutely. Because it was just because it was so different from my childhood, and I was just thinking, Jesus, that would have never been, you know, played like when I was a child, because it was complete clear lines of what was right and wrong. They've completely muddied that for this generation. I was just sitting
Oh,
there
they
going,
want Christianity as the
right,
target. They want all of those lines gone.
yeah,
Heterosexuality, they want it gone. They want to mix up the sexes, turn it upside down, put it in a mixer, and get you to, you know, live in that kind of a world. And, you know, depravity, it's only the start. It'll be worse if we even make it another 10 years.
no, they'll get rid of us. If they can, they will get rid of us because we're speaking out. They will definitely have trackers on people who are speaking out, and they will have got rid of us. They want the people, they want the ones, well, the dumb ones they're going to get rid of anyway. The ones who are just oblivious, they'll get rid of them. They're easy to get rid of as well because they won't even have a clue. There won't be any
Well, they're being
conspiracy
literally
theories.
lining up for the slaughterhouse.
Yeah,
They're
it's just
literally
they want.
lining up like sheep, and we're being
Absolutely.
patronized as well and bullied, and you know, by Michael D. You do as you're told now, you good little people.
Or otherwise you'll turn
Oh,
into a bad
xenophobe.
xenophobic.
Talk about like opening your eyes, and things are hidden in plain sight. That's, you know, things are hidden in plain sight. But you have to open your eyes.
Yeah,
People
well, I think once you
naturally
start
say they are.
opening your eyes, you kind of start seeing things. But unfortunately, they have no idea of even that they're being brainwashed, you know. And I suppose, like in one way, when I was younger, we were being told really through movies how to live as a good person and what a bad person does. Where now they're being told the opposite. So we were trained in one way where they're retraining them, and you can see them in movies,
Oh,
and it's through everything. It's through their music. It's through their music. It's through the radio. It's through schools. They are getting it at all angles.
and they're doing the satanic hand sign, you know.
Lines
They
what's
don't
good and what's bad.
in music, the music videos, they're all doing the satanic hand sign, you know, the horns. The
Yeah.
kids don't even know what that means. That's what it means. You know, and if you look carefully, if you open your eyes, you will see that all of the politicians, a lot of them have on Google, if you look up Obama, they've all made that sign at some point.
What's that? The triangle, isn't it?
No, it's the two, you know, the horns, the fingers, the little finger and the first finger, and the two little ones, two ones in the middle are down, and they make the horn of Satan, to
Yeah, I have
Satan's
seen
horn. If you see it in the rap videos.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of them do it. I didn't know what
Yeah,
it
but
was.
that's what it means. It means I love Satan. But the
Jesus
kids
Christ.
don't know. And all the Japanese, there's this Japanese, oh my God, or I think they're Korean. They're a group like of guys, and they're all dyed, their hair all dyed blonde. They're dyed like made up and puffed, and they look like women really. But they're all the, you know, Koreans are screaming their heads, all the Asians scream their heads off. And they make those signs. I love Satan. If you see it,
Jesus
like you'll
Christ.
see Berlusconi, you'll see, look up Nicolas Sarkozy, Obama. There's so
Okay,
many
well,
of
look
them. I could list a long list. You just look up satanic hand signs politicians on Google and see, just start to wake up, because their Lord is Lucifer. I can tell you, it's not God.
Yes. God love us. God save us. God save Ireland. God save.
Well, I think now we're going to get a lashing, because
the abortion.
They've kind of turned against between the whole thing now is, I think we're open now to be destroyed. We're open now. We're on our own. I think we're going to be on our own unless people wake up and realize what they're heading into. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what it means. You didn't know that. All these charities that want threshold and focus and everything. You see on the World Wildlife Fund and God knows what. This send us sight savers. Yeah, take a look when they say at the end, and even the Garda, you look at 1-800-666. Just take a look at the TV.
Yeah.
Now, what did they make you? They could pick any number under the sun. But they picked those numbers there at the end of the number. And every time I see that, I say, well, because it's hidden in plain sight. And look at the music videos. You'll see the music videos, all the rappers. They're forced into it, you see. And the kids are doing it even on the shampoo ads. And they don't know what it means.
Again, things are steeping up every week. They're getting worse and more scary. What do you think about the Brexit thing? Do you think it's going to go ahead? Or what's your feeling on that? Do you think that it'll be stopped?
Oh, I think they're planning a crisis, massive.
So do you reckon they'll stop it?
I think they're going to create a banking crash and the whole thing at once, and cause complete chaos. I mean, I have a bad feeling about the whole thing,
Because Sinn Féin is so wrapped up in sorrows. I do think there's going to be a lot of terrorists.
They had another member leave this week.
Oh, yeah, something like 45. It's insane the amount of numbers of people who have left. 45, I was reading it somewhere.
Because it's non-stop gender diversity and gender quotas, and it's not Sinn Féin. I mean, it's just not Sinn Féin. Wake up.
Okay, listen, thank you very much, and thank you so much for giving your time again. You're wonderful, and it's great to talk to you on the Bombery Show. It is great that there is people that is awake, and it's great for people who are awake that, we have comfort with each other and being able to talk, because unfortunately there's a lot of people who do think this whole thing, what we're talking about, is down to being crazy. So,
God.
I wish, I lived in the Ireland that I thought I did live in, not the actual one I do, and it's quite sad, actually, in some ways, to have woken up, because you realise everything that you thought was your home, your identity, your culture, it has been all taken from you.
Yeah.
They've robbed you. And everything that you were proud of and everything that, you loved about your country has all been taken.
And Sweden they've elected the same prime minister, and he wants more immigration. And why the hell
they absolutely must hate themselves.
For another 4 years.
You know what? I've no sympathy for them if they all get raped and murdered. I have absolutely no sympathy. If they've actually voted in the same person again and it wasn't rigged. But if it was rigged, it was rigged. But if they actually did this stupidity and they did vote in that same person who destroyed their country, they deserve to die, because that amount of stupidity, they cannot keep putting up with people being raped, gang raped, murdered, women's lives in danger, being attacked constantly, day after day, and then say, oh, this is a great thing. And if they do think that's a great thing, they deserve what they get. Because that is just beyond stupid. That is...
the 16-year-old girls and everything, I mean...
horrible what's happened day after day. They can't walk down streets. They have sheer streets. They are in danger constantly. And if they've asked for more, well, so be it. I don't think anyone can.
Another 4 years, I nearly died. It's on Voice of Europe if people want to look at voiceofeurope.com and wake up. There's a lot of stuff on that. I mean, people will go...
They're dead. There's no point in them waking up. They might as well have buried their own grave. That's what they've done. They bury their own grave, and they will pay the price for that, unfortunately. Like a lot of us, and unfortunately, I think Ireland is the same way. We will pay. We will dig our own grave, and we will pay for it, for what we're doing.
the ex-François Hollande, he was on French TV and he was asked by the presenter, oh, so we hear that Macron is the president of the rich. And he said, no, 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 no. He's the president of the very rich. Ah bon, ah bon. You know what I mean? Like they're not even hiding it. And oh,
They made that yellow vest illegal in France now. They're making it illegal in Ireland as well. That poor guy, Ben Gilroy, locked up.
what about
Absolutely.
changing? Well, yeah, well, we know why. Because he said
Yeah.
there was men going around with long cloaks and black wigs who think they're above society and hide their criminality. So we know why.
God love him. God love his wife. I saw her being interviewed. Obviously not main media, on alternative media and bawling crying. With that.
Well, I mean, even the master of the High Court was doing his job. He was doing too much of a good job. He was removed too. A surprising number of errors he could see in the paperwork. They didn't like that very much because he liked his paperwork to be meticulous. He was meticulous in his job. It was too much of a pain. They just wanted the people thrown out of their houses. He was asking too many questions. And the plaintiffs didn't like it.
There's going to be a lot more
There
of
we
this.
go.
I think we're heading for a very bad time before this, if it ever gets better, if we ever recover from.
Well, I think we're
this.
headed for a very bad time this year. And this side of, I have a bad feeling about, even between now and June, I feel.
Going to see a lot of stuff. They're going to put the army, the EU army, on the border, and that they're going to literally close the border. They're going to have a serious border, not like the border. They had a border before with the British soldiers, but that was to do with bombing. This will literally be, they're going to antagonize the British.
There was no discussion about that either during the week on RT propaganda TV. Did you notice? There wasn't a damn word about the very important agreement that Merkel signed with Macron, which literally joins the two countries together as kind of the driving force of Europe, and they will kind of solidify
force of the EU
army.
Yeah,
the army. Not a word. There was no prime time about that. I didn't see anything.
No.
So anytime you talk about the banks or the army, they shut it down, or migration. It's just not reported, and you're going around getting your people in town getting their nails done.
Listen, thank you again so much for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your night. We'll talk to you again on the Bon Marie Show. Thank you very much.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.